Today, I'm sharing 7 foods you thought were biblically clean, but aren't. Hi ladies, Raquel here. Welcome to Women Living Torah and to my Biblically Clean Kitchen. I know I said I'm sharing 7 foods with you that aren't actually biblically clean, but the truth is that if it's not biblically clean, then it's not food. In Leviticus chapter 11, verse 47, Yahweh tells us that the distinction of clean versus unclean is the distinction between foods that are meant to be eaten and foods that are not to be eaten. Yahweh did not create every animal for our food, for our consumption. And because our society doesn't regard Yahweh's commands, it's no big deal for them to put unclean ingredients into what would otherwise be a biblically clean food. And at face value to us, it may look like a biblically clean food, but for this reason or that, it's not. And even for my vegetarian and vegan friends, you have to be on your guard as well. Let's get into these 7 items, and I think you are going to be especially surprised by number 7. We're starting off with vanilla extract. If you are using natural vanilla extract, it is likely not clean. You want either pure, which means that they take those vanilla beans, they soak them in vodka or bourbon or whatever alcohol of choice to extract out the flavor, and you've got the real deal vanilla extract. Or you want imitation, which is going to come from other synthetic chemical-like things. You could argue that it's not even food. Pure is definitely the best way to go, or make it yourself. But you definitely don't want natural, because if you get natural vanilla extract, it is going to come most likely from secretions from a beaver, and beavers are not biblically clean. You might also watch out for any baked goods that you purchase if they have vanilla extract in them, or if you're going to a restaurant and they are using vanilla extract, what vanilla extract are they using? From what was it derived? Food number 2 are your chicken and your beef sausages. They're chicken and beef, they're clean, right? Well, you have to read the ingredient list and see what casing that chicken and beef is wrapped in. Sometimes there's no casing, sometimes it is a chicken or a beef casing, but many times it is a porcine or pork derived casing. So you definitely want to check the back and see what the casing is on your chicken and your beef sausages. Number 3 are your supplements and what the capsules are made out of. Just like the beef and chicken sausages can be encased in unclean ingredients, so can your supplements. So we usually like to stick with the vegan capsules because we know they're plant derived, but you have to do your research. My husband thought that he did recently on a supplement he bought, and then when he received it, it was a porcine derived capsule and he couldn't return it. It was devastating because it was such an expensive supplement as well. But you have to do your research. In addition, if you are taking fish oils, you want to know what fish is being used to make that oil. If it has fins and scales, you're good. If it doesn't, you're going to want to find a different fish oil. The 4th food you thought was biblically clean but may not actually be is your collagen peptides. So many of us like to put a scoop in our coffee or our tea to help with our hair, our skin, our nails. I especially like to take it when I'm pregnant just to help with the skin's elasticity. However, although you may be intentionally avoiding the porcine-derived peptides, you have to also be aware if your collagen comes from fish, and if it comes from fish, what fish does it come from? Collagen peptides are commonly derived from porcine, which is pig, bovine, which is cow, eggs, and fish. And you can get them just bovine. You can get fish and egg only. You know, all these different options. So it's very simple to have collagen peptides that are 100% biblically clean. I personally only do the bovine peptides because I can't have eggs or fish at all, regardless of biblically clean or not. And so again, it's not a matter of you have to eliminate this from your diet entirely. It's just being careful, doing your research to know that what you are consuming is in fact biblically clean. Before we get into our final 3 foods, would you please like this video if you are enjoying it, and also subscribe if you haven't already for more biblical living content like this. Number 5 are your dried stored goods. Now these can be ones that have been on your pantry shelf for a while, maybe they're in your long-term food storage, but they could also be ones that you just bought at the grocery store. Sarah at From It Up has a very revealing video, I will put a link in the description box too, where she shows how different items she just bought at the store seem to be suspicious and turn out to have some bugs in them. And so while I am not going to perhaps do everything that she does as an Orthodox Jew, as a biblically clean Torah observant believer in Yeshua, I am going to just be on my guard and be a little bit more diligent when I'm using my store-dried goods that I don't have bugs that are in there. Likewise, number 6, you need to check your fresh produce. Now, I like to keep a garden every year, and my garden always has bugs that are part of its world as well. And when I'm bringing that produce in, am I bringing bugs with me? Also from the grocery store, if you peel apart your celery, if you pull apart your cabbage leaves, what are you going to find? You want to be rinsing and soaking your produce and just inspecting it, seeing if there's anything suspicious on it that could indicate bugs that are not clean in there. I have a really gross story of one year when I grew these beautiful cabbages. However, I was cutting into cabbages, frying them up, and then realized I had a few cabbage worms in there. And I mean, these were like grubs, like big, nasty, juicy bugs. It was so disgusting. I felt we didn't even eat the cabbage that I had already cut up. Definitely check your produce for bugs before you eat it. And if it's a biblically clean bug, by all means, have fun. But I personally am just going to, get rid of all the bugs. And finally, number 7 that may surprise you is your ground beef. Yes, ground beef. You just get it plain in a roll at the grocery store perhaps, or from your butcher, and it's just that. It's just ground beef, right? Well, if you notice, your beef is either 90-10, 80-20, 70-30, and this is the meat muscle to fat ratio. So the question is, what fat is that? Where did that fat come from? Leviticus chapter 7, verses 22 through 25, where it says the inward fat of any cow, sheep, or goat, or suet, can be used for any purpose, salves, soap making, candle making, but not for eating. So if an animal can be sacrificed, not the ones that are actually being sacrificed because all their fat would get burned up on the altar anyway, but if it is just the type of animal that can get sacrificed, cattle, sheep, goats, then you are not to eat its inward fat. You're not to eat its suet. Use it for any other reason, but don't eat it. And so I went to the butcher at the store that I buy my meat from most often, and I asked them, where did the fat come from in this particular roll? And at least for this particular store, what they told me is that if it says ground beef, that fat could be from any part of the beef. It could be the suet, it could be the part that's attached to the muscle, which is fine for eating. But it could be anything, it's kind of just unknown, ground beef. But if you buy ground chuck, or if you buy ground sirloin, or if it's, a particular cut of beef, then the fat that is included in that ground beef is going to be only the fat from the muscle, none of the inward fat. So now I exclusively buy only ground chuck or ground sirloin or ground whatever it is that is the actual muscle and cut of the meat, so that I'm not getting that inward fat, which is not biblically clean to eat. We also do not usually eat burgers out anymore because we don't know where their ground beef came from. There are some restaurants that we have checked, we've asked them, and we're able to eat there for a burger occasionally, but if we don't know, we don't eat it because it's probably not biblically clean if it just says ground beef. So there you have it, the 7 items we thought were biblically clean, but maybe actually aren't. I would love to know which one of these did you already know about, which one surprised you, and what would you add to this list? Let's help our sisters in the faith out. The purpose for biblically clean foods, the reason the scriptures give us, is to be holy as Yahweh is holy, to be his set apart people. Yahweh is a personal God. He wants to dwell in the midst of all of us, in the midst of his people. And we as homemakers have a really significant part in that, because when we prepare biblically clean foods, we are creating a holy atmosphere for him to dwell in. We are inviting him into our homes. We are inviting him to our table to dine with us. And I just find that so exciting and so humbling as the keeper of my home to be able to usher in Yahweh's presence, to create a holy place for him to dwell. If you enjoyed this video, please do remember to like it and share it with other women who are pursuing obedience to the Most High's commands. Until next time, I pray that Yahweh would bless you and keep you. I'll talk with you later.